Thank you, Bwanoke, for the lavish compliments to me. I'm not conversant with the hierarchy, especially with respect to protocol, because customarily, before you say protocol observed, you must mention a few people in the hierarchical order. But I should imagine that a first official is the topmost official in this room. Therefore, is she president or chief executive? Executive director are first, and the chief executive officer who first, protocol observed. My name once again is Magume Stephen. I stand in for the permanent secretary, and through him, the commissioner of Agriculture Extension and Skills Management Department of MAAIF. He was here on Monday and on behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, opened this function. And you are well aware that civil servants perform their duties for and on behalf of the Chief Executive Officer of the land, who is none other than the President of the Republic of Uganda. I bring you warm greetings from MAAIF. On my own behalf, and with a bit of high aptitude, I must state, and rightly so, that this function has been a huge success. From the organization's arrangement, and most important of all, the choice of the theme. I have been used to writing what we call item writing or setting of exams. Those of you who have sat exams from primary 1 through to university, these exams you sit are usually quite engaging. Those who do them, who write them, go through quite a lot of things, and exams go quite through a lot of process. So, to have chosen this theme, rich, diversified, and representative, Dr. Miro, you take the credit. Yeah, and your team membership, of course, as a responsible officer and head of the team. I congratulate you upon this choice. MAAIF appreciates all of you players, especially those that give us a lift in the pursuit of the agricultural extension and advisory service in the entire country. A blessed country by all measure, which in part is responsible for some of the general malaise that the country suffers, because God overprovided for the Pearl of Africa, and we pride in the thinking and mindset of being a country gifted by nature. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be unusually brief because I know my problem. I can talk until cows go home. I approve of all the presentations that were made here. First of all, the communique. There was one deletion, especially that bordered on NADS, which I worked for 3 years as a technology link and innovations officer, and we did great work. Since it is already defunct in some way, we couldn't have it on the record, especially with respect to poor characterization. Acknowledgeably, it did a great job. But the rest of the contents of the communique, even one official from MAAIF, especially from planning, they have already asked me for the take home and what role they should play with respect to the proceedings of this gathering. And I should imagine we shall have a MAAIF, the general text, and MAAIF specific points for action. Good enough by policy established. And in this regard, I want us to clap to recognize Madam Biarugaba as the grandmother of re-establishment of Agriculture Extension Service. Yes. She's the one who mentored us, and I think she should be happy to hear that the children she left behind are steering the ship the right way up. Then I want to thank Madam Executive Director for AFAS. I need a copy A to Z of your presentation. It supplements and complements the communique. And for me as an assessor, by my many years of teaching, it was a well thought out presentation, and the choice of the words and message for this audience was spot on. Of course, you couldn't be a PhD by merely picking papers from the roadside. You must have proved your worth by many vetting bodies, including Viva Voce. Ladies and gentlemen, as I hitherto stated, MAAIF acknowledges all of you players. The import of the Marta feeds into the wishes of MAAIF, because we acknowledge that singly or single-handedly, MAAIF cannot achieve much. In this regard, I am thankful to our foot soldiers, an array of extension officers spread across the land. In this regard also, I thank GIZ for having facilitated our brothers and sisters from the northern half of the country, which by circumstances has been, that part of the country has suffered a lot of afflictions, including but not limited to 20 years of war. They are beginning to emerge from the ravages of war. So they were able to attend through the sessions. I thank you, Dr. Noki, Thomas. Thomas, I think you are the dean of the DPOs in the Lango sub-region. And therefore, we hope you will take the message to the rest of the northern half of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, let us not work in silos, nor should we work as co-wives. In my language, the fastest a co-wife can attend to her counterpart is when she has died and she's straightening up her body before it becomes a rigor mortis, when the muscles have since stiffened on death. That is where the co-wife is fastest in operation and attending to the co-wife. So let us not behave as co-wives engrossed in rivalry at all times, save for the time when one of the counterparts has faced problems. Let us continue to work as allies in our formations, in our deployments. After all, we attained education to full capacities from our various training institutions. Therefore, where one is placed is a matter of choice and application, and also by God's design, and also fitting in the labor mobility, where the chlorophyll and the pasture are greener than where you don't exist. So, ladies and gentlemen, the pledge, there were a lot of pledges to work together, especially so from the communication and presentation by the executive director of AFAS. And there was that major pledge that you will help MAAIF in every activity and process leading to accreditation, professionalization, and observance of standards by manpower. For me, as from the skills department, and I know how transformation of manpower can be, especially through skilling. I'm allergic to find that most of the extension officers or staff for that matter are general scientists as and when from the day they emerged out of the lecture theater. And our department ordinarily should be to transform them from general scientists, bookish, to become practical extension officers. And unfortunately, for the limitations of funds, we have not been able to perform as expected. Under the indefatigable leadership of Madam Byarugaba and Dr. Wamigisa, from 2016 to around 2020, IFAD, and I think it should be represented in this room, gave us over 8 billion shillings for skilling and retraining of extension officers. The nagging question I was able to brave from the array of extension officers was that why are you no longer invite us? Why are you no longer inviting us for training and skilling? Of course, I have to announce here and now that when, especially the pioneer effort for the reestablishment of extension service retired away by circumstances of having been born earlier than us, it appears there were transitions that affected the temple that had hitherto been built by especially Madam Byarugaba and also Dr. Wamigisa and me as the third force in the hierarchical arrangement of hardworking and patriotic and nationalistic Ugandans. I appeal to Dr. Madam Byarugaba that wherever you are also using your positions in the placement under WUFAS to still use your influence and reawaken those fellows that may have gone away by your absence in the picture to still come out and support us. So to say, don't imagine that being an agent of government or a department of government, we are heavily resourced. So in your fund appeal from people of goodwill, always incorporate us in your small budget, such that together we push this country ahead. I was impressed by young people. Boys, where are you? But I'm aware that the boy child is neglected. 3 girls, 3 young ladies, stand up, stand up. When I communicated earlier, these 3 ladies mobbed me up and they made a request. And the request was that I should mentor them. I use this opportunity to invite your brothers to avoid inbreeding of any sort, such that when you come for mentorship, you come with your brothers to benefit from my rich nutrition accumulated over 50 years of existence. On my own part, as you pledged to work with us, when I still serve in the next 1 year, I pledge to be part of this process. I don't know what role beyond this of representing government and government officials I should affirmatively play, since I will have all the time. Any written matter, I have the biological clocks that tell me where to put the full stop, the punctuation mark, to dot the I, and to end the sentence and paragraph. So any document you write before it goes out, even to the origin of English language, I will be at your disposal. And Dr. Konya has already exploited that talent, and I think his text is due for publication. At the risk of boring you, because you are already acquainted with my mannerisms, Let me stop here, wishing you success, and to do one more singular duty to invite the person from World Vision to present to this audience. Otherwise, as a teacher, I am happy for your attentiveness. I have not seen this in the many fora I have attended, not even quitting out for phone calls. This shows that indeed the menu was interesting. Madam World Vision, please address this audience. You were talking before various presenters, and I will think you will be at your utmost best to tower over us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.